Some things Mama never told us, but we have always felt them. If you've ever noticed your body changing, your energy shifting, your emotions feeling heavier or unfamiliar, and no one really explained why, you're not alone. Momma Never Told Me is a gentle, honest podcast for women navigating the physical and emotional changes no one prepared us for. We talk about the body, about life, about the things we carry quietly. This isn't medical advice. It's lived experience. It's a soft place to listen, reflect, and trust yourself again. If you're ready for honest conversations without pressure, fear, or fixing, Momma Never Told Me is here, because some things we were never told, but we're allowed to talk about them now. There's a moment when you realize your emotions don't feel familiar anymore. You're more anxious than you used to be, more easily irritated, more sensitive to things that never bothered you before. And what makes it unsettling isn't just the feeling itself, it's the sense that you don't recognize yourself. I remember thinking, funny, why am I reacting like this? Why do I feel on edge for no clear reason? Why can't I just calm down? And almost immediately, that question turns inward, into judgment, into self-criticism. We live in a culture that praises emotional control. Especially in women, we're taught to be calm, to be pleasant, to be grateful. So when emotions start spilling over, when anxiety shows up uninvited, or patience runs thin, it can feel like we're failing at something we're supposed to be good at. But what no one tells us is this: emotional changes don't happen in isolation. They don't come out of nowhere. They often arrive when something inside has been quiet for too long. Anxiety isn't always a sign that something is wrong with you. Sometimes it's a sign that something hasn't been acknowledged. I think so many of us were taught to override our feelings early, to push through discomfort, to keep functioning, no matter what was happening internally. And for a long time, that works until it doesn't. Until the body and the nervous system decide they don't want to carry everything silently anymore. Mood swings, heightened emotions, feeling overwhelmed more easily. These experiences can be frightening when no one explains them, especially when you're told directly or indirectly that you should be handling things better by now. I remember feeling like I was losing my emotional footing, like I was becoming too much, like I needed to get myself back under control. But what if emotional shifts aren't a loss of control? What if they're a shift in honesty? What if the emotions rising now are the ones that didn't have space before? There's a tenderness to this season that we don't talk about enough, a rawness. Your nervous system may be tired. Your emotional bandwidth may be narrower. Your tolerance for things that once felt acceptable may be gone. And that doesn't mean you're broken. It may mean you're listening more closely. This episode isn't about labeling emotions or trying to get rid of them. It's about understanding that emotional changes can be part of the body's larger conversation. Just like fatigue, just like physical changes, the body and emotions are not separate systems. They speak to each other constantly. So when emotions feel bigger or harder to manage, it doesn't always mean something is wrong. Sometimes it means something is finally being felt. If you're listening to this and quietly wondering, am I becoming someone I don't recognize this? I want you to know you're not alone in that question, and you're not failing. You may simply be in a season where your inner world needs more care than control. Today's conversation isn't about fixing your feelings. It's about giving them context, about releasing the fear that comes with emotional change, and remembering that emotions are not enemies. They're information. They're messengers. And when we stop fighting them, they often soften on their own. As we move into today's conversation, I invite you to listen with compassion for yourself first. You don't have to analyze every feeling. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone right now. Just notice what's present and let it be enough.
Mama never told me my body would start talking back. Some days I'm strong and still some nights I crack. These mirrors tell new stories, lines I didn't plan to see. I'm learning who I am now while I'm learning who I used to be. Mama never told me I lose myself to find my truth, that growing older comes with questions and a different kind of you. Mama never told me, but now I know. Now I know. Now I know. Now I know. Mama never told me, but now I know. But now I know. Never told me, but now I know. Oh, now I know.
There are seasons when your body isn't asking to be fixed. It's asking to be listened to. If you've ever felt worn down, out of sync, or like your body is changing faster than you can understand, you're not alone. That's one of the reasons I want to thank Ziva Life for supporting this podcast. Ziva Life offers clean, plant-based wellness products designed to support everyday nourishment and balance, especially during seasons when your body is asking for more gentleness, not pressure. This isn't about quick fixes or promises. It's about giving your body something supportive while you're learning to listen again. If you'd like to explore Ziva Life for yourself, you can visit zivo.life and use the code Reggae Hour. One word for 30% off. Momma Never Told Me may earn a commission at no additional cost to you. And as always, only take what feels supportive for you. Now, let's continue. There's a moment when you realize your emotions don't feel familiar anymore. You're more anxious, more irritated, more sensitive. And instead of asking what's happening, we often ask what's wrong with us. I remember feeling like I was losing myself, like I should be calmer, more grateful, more together. What no one told me was that emotions don't appear out of nowhere. They're messengers. Today, we're not pushing them away. We're listening. Welcome back to Momma Never Told Me. I'm Erica, and today we're diving into a topic that I know resonates deeply with so many of us, especially as we navigate different seasons of life, those mysterious mood swings, the creeping anxiety, and that unsettling feeling of just not being yourself. And I'm so thrilled to have two incredible women joining me for this conversation. First, my dear friend and former co-host, Lakeisha. It's always a joy to have you back.
Erica, it's always a joy to be here. Honestly, this topic, it hits home for me. I'm already nodding my head over here just listening to you describe that feeling of not recognizing your own emotions. It's real.
It truly is. And joining us for the first time on the podcast, but not new to these conversations, is my wonderful friend Linda. We met in Virginia just over a year ago, and honestly, our friendship bloomed over sharing exactly these kinds of experiences. Linda, welcome.
Thank you, Erica. It's such a pleasure to be here with you both. And yes, you're right. Our conversations often dive into this. It's been incredibly validating to talk with you about the symptoms, the doctor visits, and just the sheer emotional roller coaster of it all.
Absolutely. And before we really get into it, I do want to offer a gentle disclaimer, as always. What we're sharing today isn't mental health treatment or diagnosis. We're just sharing our experiences, our reflections, and hopefully providing a sense of community and validation. But if you're struggling, please reach out to a professional. That's so important. So, Lakeisha, that feeling you mentioned, not like yourself, can you pinpoint a time, maybe even recently, where that really hit you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, lately, it's almost a daily struggle. For me, it started becoming really prominent in my late 40s, early 50s. It wasn't just the, oh, I'm a little sad today kind of thing. It was this deep, almost pervasive irritability. Things that never bothered me suddenly became monumental frustrations. And then the anxiety, it would just bubble up out of nowhere about things I previously handled with grace. I'd be like, who is this person? This isn't me.
I can totally relate to that, Lakeisha. For me, because of my extensive hospital stays over the years, I've seen my emotional landscape shift dramatically. There's the physical trauma of illness and recovery, but then there's the unseen emotional aftermath. I found myself becoming incredibly sensitive, almost fragile. After a long stint in the hospital, even a slight change in plans or a minor disappointment could send me into a spiral of tears or deep sadness. It was perplexing because intellectually, I knew it wasn't a big deal, but my body and my emotions were reacting as if it were. It's so interesting how the body keeps score, isn't it? For me, it wasn't just sensitivity, but almost a feeling of emotional whiplash. One minute I'd be fine, the next I'd be ready to snap at someone for the smallest thing, and then immediately feel this overwhelming guilt. It felt like I was operating on a different frequency. And what was so frustrating was trying to explain it. You try to articulate, I just don't feel right. And people often jump to, are you depressed or are you just tired? And sometimes it's more nuanced than that. It's not just one thing.
Exactly. It's like it's not a mood, it's a mood swing. There's a difference. It's the unpredictability of it that's so disorienting. One minute you're thinking clearly, and the next it's like a fog descends or a wave of anger just washes over you, and you're left wondering, where did that even come from? And then you have to pick up the pieces, apologize, or just try to understand yourself. It's exhausting, truly.
It is exhausting. And for me, that feeling of being out of control emotionally often came hand in hand with feeling out of control physically, especially during those long hospital stays. You lose so much autonomy. Your body is poked and prodded, you're on a strict schedule that isn't your own, and your entire existence revolves around medical interventions. It's almost impossible for your emotions not to react to that kind of sustained stress and violation of your personal space, even if it's for your own good.
Linda, that's such an important point about the loss of autonomy. And it brings us to something we talked about before, Lakeisha, about how emotions don't appear out of nowhere. They're messengers. Often when we feel these shifts, our bodies are trying to tell us something. And sometimes those messages are related to how we're being treated, especially in spaces where we're supposed to be cared for, like in the medical system.
Oh, Lord. You just opened up a whole can of worms for me there, Erica. Treated horribly in the ER is an understatement for some of the things I've experienced. As a Black woman, walking into an emergency room, you almost brace yourself for a fight. I remember one time I went in with excruciating abdominal pain. I was doubled over. The nurse looked at me, barely made eye contact, and then the doctor came in, spent maybe 2 minutes with me, and suggested it was probably just stress. Stress! I'm lying there, barely able to speak, and they're chalking it up to stress. There was no real examination, no probing questions. It felt like I was immediately categorized and dismissed before they even truly listened to a word I said. My pain wasn't believed.
That's exactly it, Lakeisha. The dismissal. I had a similar experience where I was feeling really unwell, dizzy, palpitations. And when I went to the ER, the attending physician, a young white man, just looked at me like I was wasting his time. He literally said, "What do you expect us to do for you?" I was shocked. I was explaining my symptoms, clearly distressed, and he just minimized it. It's like you're already in a vulnerable state. You're seeking help, and then you're met with this wall of skepticism and even hostility. It makes you question yourself, your own perception of your body. And that's a dangerous thing when you're trying to understand what your emotions are telling you.
My goodness, those stories are truly horrifying. I can't even imagine facing that kind of outright dismissal of your pain. While I've had my share of frustrating experiences in hospitals and certainly felt unheard at times, I've never faced that explicit level of disrespect or disbelief in my pain. It's a stark reminder of the systemic biases that still exist. For me, the emotional toll of the hospital was more about the sheer duration and intensity of the treatments. You're often in pain, scared, isolated. I remember crying for seemingly no reason in my hospital bed, and the nurses would just offer a tissue and move on. It wasn't malicious, but it definitely felt like they were just managing the physical, not acknowledging the profound emotional distress of being so ill for so long. But what you both described, that's a different level of trauma.
It leaves a mark, Linda. It really does. It makes you hesitant to seek help even when you know you need it. And that hesitation can make things worse. Because then those emotions, those messengers, they're not just whispers anymore. They start screaming because you've been ignored for so long.
That's such a powerful way to put it, Lakeisha. When the whispers are ignored, the screams start. And that's when we truly feel like we're losing it, right? Because the emotions are intensifying, not because we're weak, but because they're desperately trying to get our attention. So if we accept that emotions are messengers, what do we do with that? How do we start listening, especially when the medical system or even society has taught us to push them down, to invalidate them?
For me, it's been a conscious effort to pause, to literally stop myself when I feel that surge of irritation or anxiety and ask, okay, what's underneath this? Sometimes it's exhaustion. Sometimes it's feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes it's anger about something completely unrelated that I haven't processed. It's almost like detective work, you know? And journaling has been huge for me in that process. Just getting it all out on paper, no judgment. It helps me see patterns I wouldn't otherwise notice.
I resonate with that detective work, Lakeisha. I started trying to connect my emotional states with my physical ones. If I'm feeling particularly low or anxious, I'll ask myself, have I eaten properly today? Am I getting enough sleep? Have I moved my body at all? Sometimes the simplest things can have a profound impact, and I've also learned the immense value of having a supportive community. Honestly, Erica, meeting you and having these conversations has been therapeutic. Just knowing I'm not alone and that others are experiencing similar, albeit distinct, struggles is incredibly validating.
Oh, Linda, the feeling is mutual, believe me. That sense of connection and shared understanding is so crucial. Because when you're feeling not like yourself, there's often this deep loneliness that comes with it. You feel like you're the only one going through it, or that you shouldn't be going through it. And that internal judgment just amplifies everything. Learning to separate the emotion from the judgment, that's a big step. It's like, okay, I feel this way. It's a feeling. It's not a moral failing. And then, what's the message?
Right, it's not a character flaw, it's information. And sometimes the message is that you need help beyond just self-reflection. I've had to overcome my own hesitations about therapy, about talking to someone who isn't a friend or family. And that's another hurdle, especially for Black women, where there can be stigma around mental health care. But finding the right therapist who really listens, who doesn't dismiss your experiences, who helps you unpack these messengers, it can be life-changing. It's about finding someone who validates your experience rather than minimizes it.
I completely agree, and while therapy might not be accessible or right for everyone, there are other ways to build resilience. For me, after all my hospital stays, finding a way to reconnect with hobbies I loved, even if it was just reading a book for a few minutes or listening to music, helped ground me. It was about intentionally carving out small moments of joy or peace amidst the chaos, because sometimes the message is simply, you need a break. You need some kindness from yourself and from others.
Those small moments are so powerful, Linda. It reminds us that we're still here, still capable of experiencing something good, even when the bigger picture feels overwhelming. And that's what we want to leave our listeners with today. A reminder that if you're experiencing these mood swings, this anxiety, this feeling of not yourself, you're not alone. And more importantly, there's nothing inherently wrong with you. Your emotions are rising, they're falling, they're communicating. They're messengers, not a judgment. And it's okay to listen. It's okay to seek support. It's okay to acknowledge your experiences, especially when others might try to dismiss them.
Absolutely. Give yourself grace. Treat yourself with the same compassion you would offer a friend. You deserve it.
Nearing teen. And remember that even in the toughest times, there's strength in sharing your story and in leaning on those who care about you. You're more resilient than you think.
Such beautiful and important words, ladies. Thank you both for sharing your wisdom and your hearts today. This conversation has been incredibly illuminating, and to our listeners, a reminder that emotions rise and fall, and you don't have to act on all of them, but you do get to listen to them. They're telling you something valuable. We'll catch you next time on Momma Never Told Me. Take care.